Good morning. Good morning, traders. How are you all doing today? Karibuni sana. Glad you all join us this fine Monday morning, although it is quite chilly here in Nairobi, but hope everyone is doing well and keeping safe. So, I guess we can be able to start now. For those who are new, my name is Mitch Kaniaro, and I'm a trader with Afriforex. I want to welcome you to another Afriforex daily analysis session. Now, during these sessions, we as the Afriforex team, we analyze the markets, we identify what trading opportunities we will be looking at taking for the day, and we do share that information with you. So as usual, we do have the Afriforex team. They are here in the back office, so it's not just a one-man show. If you have any questions or queries, feel free to ask those questions in the chat box, and the team will respond to you. So let's jump straight into it. So as usual, we'll start off with our watch list. So hope everyone can see my screen. So starting off with our watch list, let's have a quick look at what we were looking at on Friday. So you can see on Friday, here we have, we were looking for selling opportunities on the Canadian dollar as well as the US dollar. And our focus was on these two pairs, looking to sell them and mixing and matching them with all the pairs on the buy side. Now you can see today, there has been no change. So basically the watch list is still the same, still going to be looking for selling opportunities on the Canadian dollar as well as the US dollar. And we're going to mix and match them with all the pairs on the buy side. Now, in terms of fundamentals today, we do have a bit. Today it's a holiday in Australia, but we can see we have some euro fundamentals, at least coming out at midday. Hopefully that should bring in some volatility. Might end up changing the euro being strong to being weak, but we'll end up having a look at that. And at least we do have some USD news, or at least some news that are coming out during the US session. So at least, hopefully today, we should expect at least some volatility on the charts. So let's start off with today's pairs. So as usual, remember today being Monday, we don't necessarily showcase screenshots, but remember, if you do manage to take any setups based on things that we do share, feel free to send them in to us. Our contact details should be in the description of this video. So let's start off with the Canadian dollar pairs. We'll mix and match them with the pairs on the buy side, then move on to the US dollar pairs and do the exact same thing. So we'll start off with the euro against Canadian dollar. Now, on Friday, this is a pair that we did end up having. We were looking for buying opportunities. And you can see the three areas that we had pointed out. Now, during the session earlier in the morning, the price was at least within this particular area right here, where you can see we're expecting one of two things. Since the price was in a seller's area, we needed either a pullback to come in or showing us evidence that the price is actually breaking to the upside. So we can see that it did end up giving us two opportunities. So if you remember the timings that we always point out, 10, 11, 4, and 5:30. So 10 o'clock being the Frankfurt market open, 11 being the London market open, 4 being the US market open, and 5:30 being the New York Stock Exchange open. So during those specific times, you do end up expecting some sort of movements on the charts. So it seems that on Friday, it seems that the Frankfurt market open was the one. If you can clearly see, the price did manage to break this area to the upside, showed us confirmation that it was holding above, and there was a buying opportunity then. Now, if you did miss that opportunity, you can see during the US session later on, the price did end up giving us a pullback, coming back down. Fortunately, could not get all the way to the area that we did have, but you can see it did end up finding the same support and resistance area that was breached. And if you do take note of the time, you can see that it's around 4 and 4:30. So remember, when we do mention the US market opening times 4 and 5:30, a majority of the times that the markets, even though we mentioned 4, sometimes you'll see them moving at 4:30, mainly because if you do take note of when news events usually come out during the US session, you'll realize that most of the time that it will actually be coming out at 4:30. So you can look at any day, you definitely will end up seeing some fundamentals coming out at that time. And it seems that in this case, that's exactly where the price was within that particular area. And you can see it did end up giving us another buying opportunity. Now, today, the bias here is still going to be looking for buying opportunities. We will have, or at least we have identified 3 areas of interest. So these are the 3 areas that we will be watching out for. So we have a support and resistance area right there at the top. We have the aggressive bias area all the way down within this particular area around here. So remember, as long as the price is holding above this red support and resistance area, our bias is going to be looking for buying opportunities. Right now, it did look as if it had breached this area to the upside, but this wasn't necessarily a very convincing breach, because ideally what we would expect is that the price breached the upside and pulled back. We did end up expecting these buyers to be able to take it up higher. But you can see in this situation, the fact that they do seem to be struggling then in this situation, we do end up expecting a bit more of a pullback to come in. And that's the reason why we will still be focusing on these 3 areas. So hopefully we can end up getting this pullback coming back in, potentially within this support and resistance area, giving us some sort of probe or price action signal before we do end up expecting a buying opportunity, or if it lines up within one of the market opening times or when there's a news event coming up. Now we'll wait to see what ends up happening. Hopefully we can end up getting that pullback. But remember, if we do end up getting the price breaching to the upside, similar to what happened on Friday, or we can get the price coming up higher, we want to see the sellers really slow down before we're able to look for the buying opportunity. But one level you need to watch out for, even though we've not necessarily adjusted it, but you can see there is a particular high right here. So even if you do manage to grab a buying opportunity, just watch out for this support and resistance area. We can get the price breaching and holding above that area, then we should be able to continue looking for those buying opportunities on the euro against the Canadian dollar. So hope that's clear on Euro CAD. As we move on to the next Canadian dollar pair we do have. Right here, we have the Canadian dollar against the Swiss franc. Now on Friday, our bias here was to look for selling opportunities. You can see the 3 areas that I had pointed out. Now, initially, we wanted to see whether or not we could end up getting this price breaching and holding below this particular area for us to look for those sells. And did point out that yesterday, or at least on Friday, that there was a particular support and resistance area here where the price did end up bouncing off from. And it seems that that's where the market did end up wanting to jump down from. Because you can clearly see during the London session, we got a move to the downside, but when the price came back up, it never held below. You can see it just came straight back up and was holding above, meaning this was a probe. The level was not breached yet. But you can see the price managed to go all the way back up towards this support and resistance area. So price was within an area where there are sellers. And you can see around 4 and 5:30. In fact, 5:30 is when it actually started really moving to the downside. But either way, whether or not you're looking at the market at 4, 4:30, or 5:30, the price was within this particular area. If you didn't manage to grab a selling opportunity there, you can clearly see how much the market did continue going down lower. So today, the bias is still the same. We have adjusted the levels slightly, just made them smaller, because it does seem that this market is ranging. So overall, the extremes are still going to be the same areas that we did end up having. Aggressive sellers all the way at the top. We have a support and resistance area right here in the middle. And we have a support and resistance area down here at the bottom. Even this bottom one, we have adjusted it slightly, moving it up higher. So we can see the price has breached this area to the downside during the Asian session. But if you realize, we have not necessarily gotten a pullback to come in to confirm that that level has fully been broken. So in this situation, we'll be expecting, at least for us, for the price to come back within this particular support and resistance area, see evidence that the sellers are actually interested in this, and then we should be able to look for a selling opportunity within that particular area. But remember, if this level doesn't hold and you find the price breaching and holding above, watch out for this blue area. You can see the fact that the price has bounced off there multiple times. You definitely know there are sellers within that area. Remember, we always mention buy with buyers and sell with sellers. It does not necessarily mean that it has to be these levels that we put in, because sometimes the market could end up just deciding to bounce off with a specific buyers or sellers area. But as long as it lines up within the market opening times, it does give you more confidence on your analysis. So hope that's clear on the Canadian dollar against the Swiss franc as we move on to the next Canadian dollar pair. So right here, we have the British pound against the Canadian dollar. This pair really did end up taking off on Friday. Remember, we did have these 3 areas down here. Now in the morning, or at least on Friday morning, the price was within the seller's area. Remember, we did want one of 2 things, either a pullback to come in where we could end up getting a buying opportunity down here, or if the price broke this area to the upside, we'll wait for a pullback and then look for a buy. You can see that's exactly what happened. There was a small breach and hold during the London session where it did end up attempting to go up higher. So there was a small opportunity then, but it does seem that the main buyers, or at least the main buying move did end up happening during the US session. Because you can see the market did end up giving us a pullback, coming close towards the area that we did end up wanting right there. Fortunately, just missed it slightly. But if you do take note of the time, that was between 4:30, or at least it really did end up starting to move to the upside fully in terms of the aggressive move from 5:30. So you can see the trade really did work out quite well. And today, the bias here is still going to be looking for buying opportunities. But the one thing that for us, personally, at least for me, I would be waiting for this price to actually give us a pullback. These buyers have really come up quite aggressive. Do not necessarily want to start chasing buying opportunities or buying right here all the way at the top. So we need one of 2 things to happen. Similar story. I think if you've been here before, you know exactly what the story would be. We'll be waiting for a pullback to come in, potentially within this support and resistance area. Hopefully, it lines up within one of the market opening times for us to look for a buying opportunity there. But if the price is able to continue going up higher, so you find the price actually breaking this area to the upside, and we find a strong breach, and the sellers, as they're coming down, they do end up coming down slowly. We should end up finding a potential buying opportunity within this particular area. We'll just see if it does line up within the market opening time. Similar story to what ended up happening on Friday. So let's wait to see what ends up happening, but that is the game plan on the British pound against the Canadian dollar. So moving on to the next Canadian dollar pair here, we do have the Australian dollar against the Canadian dollar. So our bias here on Friday was to look for buying opportunities. You can see the three areas that we had pointed out. So initially the price was within an area where the sellers, so you can see the game plan that we did have either a breach to the upside. So let me just adjust it slightly. So we needed either a breach to the upside, and on a pullback, we could end up looking for a buying opportunity, or we needed a pullback to come in potentially within this support and resistance area. And if it lined up within the market opening times, we could end up looking for a buying opportunity. And you can see that's exactly what happened during the London session. We did end up getting that pullback coming in. The price came back within this particular buyer's area, and you can see in this situation, took off at 530. So going all the way till the upside. So there was a very nice buying opportunity within that particular area. So today, the bias is still going to be looking for buying opportunities. So we'll be focusing on the exact same three areas to look for the buys. But it does end up looking quite good in terms of how the buyers and sellers are responding. So these are concepts we do teach within our courses. But one thing to realize is, yes, the buyers, if you realize the way the buyers came up within this particular area, look at how aggressive the sellers came down. Very, very aggressive. But the buyers reacted equally in kind, coming up very aggressive. Now look at the reaction of the seller within this particular area. Initially, from this price, they were very interested in selling very aggressively. But right now, the price has come back to them, and it does not seem like they're very much interested in selling. So that's a good sign for us. So the main thing we'll be waiting for is the pullback to come in. Once we do end up seeing the sellers struggling, or we see signs of big boy buyers coming in, then we could potentially end up looking for a buying opportunity within this support and resistance area. Do make sure you manage your trade within this location. But remember, since the sellers do seem as if they're struggling, if we are able to get the price reaching this area to the upside, and we do get the price holding above, then we should be good to go to continue with looking for buying opportunities on the Australian dollar against the Canadian dollar. So I hope that's clear on AUD CAD. As we move on to the next Canadian dollar pair we do have, right here we have the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen. Now, on Friday, bias here was to look for selling opportunities. It is still the same situation today, looking for sells. Now, you can see on Friday, when we were discussing this earlier in the morning, the price was within this particular area. We did see the sellers come down very aggressive. Wanted to see whether or not the price is going to hold below for us to look for sells. We did end up attempting to do that. So around 10 during the Frankfurt market open, it attempted to come down, found this particular low, but could not actually go down lower. So you can see at 11, price was within a buyer's area. And we did end up getting the pullback coming up very aggressive. Now, it did end up looking as if it had broken past this particular area. But remember, in order for a level to be broken, we need to see the price actually holding to the upside. So in this situation, you can see the price came up on the pullback. If it did end up holding above here, then it should have fallen off our watch list. But the fact that the price came straight back in, so that meant that this was just a probe to the downside. So overall bias here is still going to be looking for sells. Even one thing to take note of is that when we go up to a higher time frame, one thing you'll realize is the market structure, we do seem to be in a range bouncing between these two levels. So if that's the case and the market is ranging, then the best place to look for the sells would be at the top of the range right here. So aggressive selling opportunities right there. Then we also have a support and resistance area right here in the middle. Definitely an area to manage your trades, but remember, the bottom of the range is all the way down within this particular area. So we will be watching out for that. Ideally, the best thing for us to wait for is the price to potentially give us a pullback coming back within this area for us to potentially looking for selling opportunities there. Remember, this market did end up giving us a probe. And most of the time when the market gives us a probe, it has a high probability of coming back to that same area that was tested, or at least was probed, before actually continuing to the downside. So let's wait to see what ends up happening on the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen. So moving on to the next and last Canadian dollar pair we do have, right here we have the New Zealand dollar against Canadian dollar. Now on Friday, our bias here was to look for buying opportunities. Today we've adjusted the level slightly, but you can see the three areas that we were hoping to grab those buying opportunities from. Now initially the price was at least within this particular area, looked as if it was reaching this area to the upside. Wanted to see whether or not the price is actually going to hold above for us to look for buying opportunities. As you can see, when the price gave us a pullback, it did end up looking as if it was holding, but it did not really take off, because if you do note, there was no big boy to actually move your market at that time. Because if you do note the time, that was between 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock. So there was no US open or anything like that to actually take the price up higher. In fact, the price managed to come down lower. And you can see around 4:30 or so, we did end up getting a deeper pullback before the buy did end up working out. Unfortunately, we could not get the price coming back within the main SNR that we did end up having on Friday. But today, the levels have been adjusted. We will still be looking for buying opportunities. It's a similar story with the New Zealand dollar, within the Australian dollar against the Canadian dollar, where we can see the way the price did end up giving us a pullback within this particular area right here. Price did manage to come up, and you can see the buyers came up very aggressive. And you can see it's within that same area. And now look at the sellers' reaction coming down much, much slower. So that's the main thing, that at least we know that buyers are definitely in, and the sellers might not necessarily be that interested in this. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening. Let's hope to see if we can end up getting some sort of pullback coming in before we're able to look for buying opportunities. But remember, the other option we do end up having, if the price is able to break this area to the upside and we do get the price holding above, then we should be able to look for buying opportunities as well on the New Zealand dollar against the Canadian dollar. So I hope the game plan is clear on what we're looking at doing on the Canadian dollar pairs. You can see we've mixed and matched the Canadian dollar with all the pairs on the buy side. So right now we're going to move on to the US dollar and do the same thing. So we'll start off with the euro against the US dollar. Now, on Friday, our bias on this pair was to look for buying opportunities. Can see price was within an area where the sellers on Friday. So we can see the game plan that we were looking at, either pullback to come down to where the support resistance area. If we do get the price breaching to the upside, let's wait for a pullback to come in for us to look for that buy. So you can see that's exactly what happened. A small buying opportunity happened during the London session where we did get the price pulling to the upside. Wanted to get that pullback coming in, and it did end up coming down. Unfortunately, not towards exactly the area that we did have. It seems that it did end up respecting this support and resistance area that we did end up bouncing off from. So you can see the price ended up coming down quite slowly in comparison to how the buyers came up. And the price was within a very interesting area during the US market open. So you can see that was exactly 4:30 or so. And there was a very nice buying opportunity to take it up higher. So today, the buyers here is still going to be looking for buying opportunities. So we've adjusted the level slightly. So overall, we will be focusing on these three areas. So right now, we'll pull back to a very nice, interesting support and resistance area. In fact, it's similar to where we almost had it yesterday, sorry, Friday. So you can see the way the buyers came up, the sellers are giving us a pullback. Right now, we are within an area where the buyers, we are about to approach the market open. But remember, don't necessarily just jump in on trades because you have not necessarily seen the big boy buyers actually coming in. We want to know if these buyers are actually interested. If we do see the buyers coming in a bit aggressive, then we should know, waiting for a pullback, we could be able to look for buying opportunities. But if you do not see any aggressive buyers coming in, you'll just be gambling at that point in time, hoping that they might come in just because it's a support and resistance area. Remember, support and resistance areas are breached all the time. Some definitely, a lot of them hold, but you need to at least get confirmation or some sign that the buyers or sellers will be interested within that particular price. So wait to see what ends up happening here. But if the buyers don't show up, then we might even still find the price coming down lower all the way till the red SNR. But remember, as long as we're holding above this red SNR, we will still be looking for buying opportunities on the euro against the US dollar. So moving on to the next US dollar pair, we do have the US dollar against the Swiss franc. Now on Friday, we're looking for selling opportunities on this. Now during the London market open, the price was within this buyer's area. Wanted to see whether or not we could get the price breaching and holding below. As you can see, the game plan that we did end up having here. Unfortunately, you can see the price attempted to come down lower, but on the pullback, when it came in, it never held below. It just went straight to the upside and actually ended up holding above. So at that point in time, no trading opportunity clearly, because you can clearly see that the price never held below. Did end up getting the price coming up a bit higher. Unfortunately, just missed our area slightly. But if you do note the times, around 5:30. So even if you might not necessarily be good with finding the exact location of where to buy or sell, if you do take note of the market opening times and you're there within that particular time and you identify that the price is either within a buyer's or seller's area, that trade has a higher probability of working out at that particular time. So you can see we did end up getting a push to the downside, but the buyers, or at least the sellers, could not break this particular buyer's area. And you can see the buyers have given us a pullback. So today, buyers here is definitely still going to be looking for selling opportunities. It's a similar situation with the New Zealand dollar against the Canadian dollar, as well as the Australian dollar against Canadian dollar. But this one, it's a bit inverse, where we can clearly see the way the sellers, sorry, the way the buyers came up quite aggressive within that particular area. The sellers responded in kind, but right now, look at the way the buyers are coming up. They do seem to be struggling much, much more and taking much longer in comparison to how they did it on Friday. So that is a sign that the buyers do seem as if they might be slowing down, but it's a similar situation. Just because the buyers are slowing down doesn't mean that it's time to sell. We need to see aggressive sellers coming in or some sort of probe or price action signal within this particular area for us to look for those selling opportunities on the US dollar against the Swiss franc. So hope that is clear as we move on to the next US dollar pair. So the British pound pairs really did end up taking off on Friday. We can clearly see the strength on them. So on this pair, our bias on Friday was to look for buying opportunities. You can see the 3 areas that I had pointed out. Now, initially, the price did look as if it was within this particular area. You can see that was around 930 or so, where the price wanted to see whether or not the price is actually going to reach the upside and hold above. You can see it just came straight back down. So at that point in time, no trading opportunity just yet. But you can see at 10 o'clock, the price managed to go to the upside, and we did end up getting a small hold above. So there was a small buying opportunity during the London session, but it seems that the main buy did end up happening during the US session, because you can see similar situation. We did end up getting a pullback coming back within this particular area. We do note the time that's around 4:30 or so. You can see the price did end up taking off to the upside. So this trade worked out quite well, and today we will still be looking for buying opportunities on this pair. So we'll be focusing on these 3 areas to look for those potential buys. In fact, this one looks very, very nice, especially when you compare how the buyers came to the upside. This one does seem like a textbook pullback that's coming in. So as you can see, the sellers are coming in comparison to how the buyers are coming in. The sellers are definitely slower. So the main thing we want to know, it's not necessarily just because we're within a support and resistance area, it's time to buy. We need to see some sort of sign that the sellers are really slowing down, and at the same time, some buyers are actually coming in. So wait to see what ends up happening. If we do see the sellers really slowing down within this area, or we get some sort of probe or price action signal, and we see the buyers coming in very aggressive, and it's lining up within one of the market opening times, and you might find a nice buying opportunity within this particular area right here. And remember, if it's lining up within one of the market opening times. So remember, that's 10, 11, 4, and 5:30. So let's move on to the next US dollar pair we do have. So right here, we have the Australian dollar against the US dollar. Now on Friday, our bias here was to look for buying opportunities. Now there was a small buy, but not necessarily the best of the one that we really wanted. Because you can see in terms of during the Asian session, because the price really coming up quite aggressive. So we definitely knew that buyers were responsible. So the main thing we wanted to see was a pullback come in. And you can see even the same illustration that I had pointed out. Now, unfortunately, the pullback did not get in all the way to the area that we wanted. You can see it found some sort of small support and resistance area within there. And it did end up lining up within one of the market opening times around 4:30. And there was a small buying opportunity. But the fact that we could not necessarily go any higher than this, it possibly meant that this particular price right here, where the price managed to at least attempt to go up, this was not good enough for the buyers. You can definitely tell when the buyers came up the first time, you can see we did end up getting a pullback, and it found that the buyers were very much more interested in this pair, or at least at that price, to actually take it up. But right now, the fact that the price, they got this price and they were not able to actually make any new highs, it means that we definitely need a better price than this, meaning they want more of a discount in order for them to actually buy. I think that's something that most of us do when we do end up going to the stores. So you can clearly see, since this price wasn't good enough, we have actually started getting a better price. So you can see the price is coming in deeper. So here we want to see at what point in time will the buyers end up getting interested. So right here, where you can clearly see the way the sellers are coming down, let's wait to see if the buyers are able to actually bring this price up higher, or we're able to potentially look for buying opportunities. So let me just highlight the areas since they are basically the same. So it does look as if right now it has breached this area to the downside. And that's the reason why it would not necessarily be the best time to look for your buying opportunity just yet. We can get the price breaching and holding above this area, and we do see aggressive buyers coming in, then this definitely we will be looking for those buying opportunities. So right now, I think they are just basically negotiating. So if you think about going to a store and it's between a buyer and a seller, if they definitely know someone has come to buy and he wants a lot, he's only going to buy at a particular price. So at this point in time, the shopkeeper is giving a discount. So he's saying maybe 5% discount, maybe 6% discount. How about 7? How about 10? So we want to realize at what point in time will the buyer be interested and say, you know what, I'll take that price. So that's everything. The reason why we keep on encouraging, wait for the buyers to show some interest, wait for signs of big boy buyers, then you definitely know those buyers are there. Don't feel FOMO that the market is going to leave without you. As you can see, there's always going to be opportunities each and every day. So let's wait to see what ends up happening. Watch out for this buyer's area because you can clearly see they did end up, or at least were interested in this price before. Let's see if they will be interested in it again. So hope that is clear on the Australian dollar against the US dollar. As we move on to the next currency pair we do have, right here we have the US dollar against the Japanese yen. This currency pair, our bias here was to look for selling opportunities. You can see the way the market came down very aggressive during the Asian session. The price was within this particular area right here on Friday when we were discussing this market. So we needed a pullback either to come in within the support and resistance area. This is what we were initially hoping for before we were able to look for sells. You can see when the price came up, it just came straight all the way to the upside, came back all the way to the top area right here. So in this situation, if you looked at the market at 4 o'clock, the price was right there where you can see there was a very nice pin bar right there at the top. If you did use that to end up entering a trade, that would have worked. And you can see if you did end up just taking the trade based on the timing. So at 5:30, where you did end up seeing a probe coming in and the market came back and pulled back in that area, you can see there was a very nice selling opportunity then as well. One thing to take note of for the US dollar against the Japanese yen, we do seem to be in a huge range bouncing between these two levels. So definitely, if we are within a range, we are looking for sells, then definitely the best place to look for a sell is at the top of the range right here. So we'll still be looking for aggressive selling opportunities right there. Do make sure you do some sort of trade management within that particular area. And you should be able to target all the way down to the bottom. But remember, the reason why we encourage trade management, watch or at least watch out for areas that you will potentially find some issues. You can see this is an area where buyers have reacted from before. So even if you do manage to grab your selling opportunity, you can manage some of your trade within this area, some more of your trade within here before you do end up maybe having to take profit all the way down at the bottom. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening. But remember, if the price breaches and holds above the red scenario, this pair will fall off our watch list. So hope that is clear as we move on to the last US dollar pair that we do have. So right here is the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. Similar situation with the Australian dollar against the US dollar, where we can clearly see on Friday, the price did end up coming up quite aggressive during the Asian session. It's not a surprise due to the fact that we are dealing with the New Zealand dollar pair. So you can see the market did end up going up quite aggressive. The price was within this particular area here on Friday. We wanted to see a pullback, potentially coming back in within the support and resistance area. So you can see a similar situation where we did end up getting a slight pullback, not necessarily all the way to the area that we wanted, and the buyers did end up reacting. Similar situation in this situation, it was around 4 and 5:30, where the buyers did end up attempting to go to the upside. But you can clearly see they struggled to pass that particular high, and that meant we need a better price than this. And you can clearly see that's exactly what's happening. So when we mention a better price, maybe everyone at this point in time was jumping in on buys. But right now, the fact that the price has come down low, majority of people are thinking that the fact that we're broken this level, it should be now for a sell. So for us, we definitely know we're still going to be looking for buys. It's definitely a better price. We want to see now within the same area that we did end up having on Friday. As you can see, the price has come back to that particular same area. And if you do note how the reaction has been, it does seem quite interesting as the fact that the sellers have managed to come down very aggressive. They are still quite strong because you can see the sellers who are pushing right here, but the buyers have given a probe. So you can see it looked as if it attempted to break this area to the downside. It did not. And you can see the confirmation where the price has come up and it does seem to be holding above within this area. But we want to see when the big boy buyers are really going to be interested. Remember, we want one of two things. We need both things. We need the sellers really struggle and we need the buyers to actually show that they are interested. So wait to see what ends up happening here. So if we do end up seeing at least some sort of aggressive buyers coming in and the sellers really slowing down, then we should be able to look for buying opportunities here. So you can end up watching out for this support and resistance area. We do get the price breaching above that location. We do have this particular high right here, but it's not necessarily as convincing, especially if it just breaks a level and it's not necessarily gone that far. There's a high chance that we might need a better price. So we will still watch out for those three areas on the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. So hope that's clear with all the currency pairs. As you can see, we're mix and matched the Canadian dollar and the US dollar with all the pairs on the buy side. So right now we're going to have a look at the indices as well as gold and silver. So we'll start off with the NASDAQ, the NAS 100. So on this pair, it doesn't even seem like it is changing. So our bias on Friday was to look for buying opportunities. Price was within the seller's area. Nothing much happened throughout the Asian session. Similar situation during the London session. There was nothing much. So from 4 o'clock, nothing much happened there. It was only at 5:30. You can see the market start giving us a pullback. During the Asian session, the price has really come down quite aggressive. So in this situation, you can see the main bars are right here. The fact that we are starting to breach this area to the downside, it is not yet confirmed that it is a sell. I know that might seem like a surprise to most of you, but remember, the story never changes in terms of, in order for a level to be broken, we need confirmation. A level can only be broken in one way, which is the price actually goes to the downside, or at least it can be broken in two ways, but the price broken to the downside and we see the price actually holding below. If we do end up seeing the price holding below, then definitely we should be able to look for selling opportunities there. However, right now, the fact that we've not gotten that confirmation, we do not necessarily know yet, and we will still be focusing on buys. Because we have seen many times, many people being incited, if the price comes back in and holds above, then all these people who are looking for sells and everyone jumping in on sells, not realizing that the buyers are now back and we could end up getting the price going up higher. So remember, right now on the NASDAQ, it is quite interesting. So we need, at least we're within a very interesting area because we need one of two things. So you can be able to potentially set an alert within this particular area. For example, if you do end up hearing the price coming back in, then you will note at least at that point in time, you can be on the charts to identify whether or not the price is going to break this area to the upside, or if it ends up pulling back and holding below, then definitely we will be looking for selling opportunities there. But for now, let's wait for confirmation to actually see what's going to happen on the NAS 100. So hope that's clear. We might end up adjusting the NASDAQ and the Dow Jones to the sell side soon, but we wait to see what ends up happening. But right here on the Dow Jones, it seems like there's something potentially happening with the US dollar. Maybe the US dollar is showing a bit of strength or weakness, not too sure. But in similar situation here on the Dow Jones on Friday, we were looking for buying opportunities. Nothing happened during the London session or the Asian session. You can see later on during the US session, we can see a lot more aggression coming in, and similar situation during the Asian session where the prices really come down. So overall, it's a similar situation. We will still be looking for buying opportunities. We've seen this happen multiple times where the market looks as if it's breaking a level. All the breakout traders start jumping in on sells. Then you end up finding a big move to the upside, realizing that later on it was a probe. So if you do end up seeing the price actually holding above, then we will still be looking for buying opportunities on the Dow Jones. But remember, it's a similar story with the NASDAQ. And you can see the fact that they're doing the same thing. You can be able to use some correlation. Have a look at one. When you look at the other, if you do end up seeing both of them, let's say, giving us a pullback, and they do end up holding below, then we should be able to look for selling opportunities and switch our biases on the indices. So let's wait to see what ends up happening today, or at least as the price potentially comes back in. But even if we end up going up to the 1 hour time frame, you can see if you compare how the buyers came up. So if they do end up doing compare how the buyers came up with how the sellers are coming down. Definitely the buyers are the ones who are still strong, but we need to get confirmation within this particular area. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening. So hope that is clear as we move on to the next pair that we do have. So right here we have silver. Now on silver, our bias on Friday and today is still to look for buying opportunities. We do seem to be in some sort of small range, bouncing between these levels. So the fact that we're ranging, it's clear to see where the levels that we should be buying are from. So we have the bottom SNR right here. As long as we're holding above this red SNR, remember our bias is to look for buying opportunities. If the price is able to break and hold below, then at that point in time, we should be able to start looking for selling opportunities. You can see even a similar situation. Just because it doesn't look, or at least people could be afraid of all this move to the downside. So a similar situation with last week, as the price went up, we were still looking for buying opportunities. We did end up having this same SNR level. We saw the sellers really coming down, but the buyers still did end up working. So as long as you're following the zones and the structure of the market, you will definitely be fine. So right here, and you can see the amount of times we ended up actually getting approved. So right here, we'll wait to see what ends up happening. We do end up getting the price coming back in, and we do end up getting the price holding above, then we should be able to look for buying opportunities, potentially targeting all the way to the top of the range. But remember, in order for a range to be broken, or at least one of these levels, you can clearly see how strong it has been due to the fact that the price has been holding within this area for quite a while. So in order for a level to be broken, we need a strong breach, because you can clearly see these levels are definitely very strong. So if you do see the sellers really coming down aggressive and we see the price holding below, then we should be able to switch our bias and start looking for selling opportunities. But until then, the fact that we're still holding above the red SNR, we will definitely still be looking for buying opportunities on silver. So hope that is clear as we move on to the next and last pair that we do have, which is gold. So on gold on Friday, our bias here was to look for buying opportunities. Fortunately, it seems that the pullback is what it wanted to give us. So you can see during the London session, nothing really much happened. Tried to getting a small push to the upside, but it was around 4:30 and 5:30. The market really started coming down. We never really got the price actually breaching and holding above this area properly. You can see we possibly needed a better price, and right now we are starting to get a pullback. So we'll be focusing on the same areas, aggressive, focusing on these three areas right here to potentially look for those buying opportunities. So our aggressive buyers area is all the way down here at the bottom. So for gold, as long as we're holding above this area, we will still be looking for buying opportunities. If we go up to a larger time frame, yes, we can see that the price has managed to go up. We have pulled back within this support and resistance area was where we're expecting the market to react from. Now, if it does not react from there, which it still potentially could, because you could easily find the market giving us an aggressive move to the upside. And if you see the price holding above, then we will be looking for buying opportunities. If it does hold below this particular area, then chances are we could either be coming down all the way to the bottom, or you might actually end up finding that we might be transitioning into some sort of channel. So you could easily find that this market is potentially going to bounce off such levels right there. So you might find that it's actually within a channel, and you could still easily find the price going to the upside. So that's one thing to still take note of. But remember, as long as we're holding above the red SNR, we will still be looking for those buying opportunities on gold. So I hope that is clear on all the kinds of pairs. As you can see, we'll mix and match all the pairs, including the indices as well. So I guess that is it from me. I'm not really seeing any questions, which is okay. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me today. Really do appreciate it. Remember, if you have any questions, queries, or even suggestions of how you'd want us to do these sessions, or we are looking for a particular pair, just let us know in the description, or at least, in the comment section or in the chat box. Just let us know, and at least we will end up doing that for you. At least we'll look to see how we can do that. Once again, thank you guys so much. Hope you have an amazing trading day. God bless, happy trading, and bye for now. Cheers, guys.